Hi, I'm Jill Menze, news editor at PhocusWire, and I'm here with Ariane Gorin, who is president of Expedia for Business. So
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Jill.
We know Expedia's had a bunch of updates recently, especially at the recent Explore event. And so much of that was focused on putting the traveler first. What is the role of transparency in kind of putting the traveler first and helping them understand what it is they're booking, who they're booking with, and what they're getting?
I think, if you think about what you want to give a traveler in their experience, it all comes down to trust. They need to trust that when they come to book, that they're going to find all the information they need, and that then when they're in the trip, that what's going to get delivered is what they expected, and if something goes wrong, that they'll be taken care of. And I think that transparency is really what's behind the trust. So it's transparency when the traveler is shopping, and then transparency with our partners in what are the issues that might be coming up, what are the things that are important to travelers. And I think through that, it's having conversations where we say, you know what, maybe in the past there were points of friction. We were worried about, is it your traveler, is it our traveler, or there's some information we don't want to share. And I think now it's really all about transparency.
Yeah. I'm curious how, customers have responded to the updates that you had. You have the open world platform now. There's the new kind of ranking for hotels based on a trust score. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So how have customers and partners been?
So partners have been, I would take the two things separately. In terms of the guest experience score, what we've seen is since we announced it at Explore in May, we've had about 80% of hotels who are there who have looked at what was their guest experience score, really started to interact with it to see what are the insights we can take away from it to help improve guest experience. So I think there's a lot of excitement and interest around that.
Yeah.
In terms of what we announced on Open World, there's also been really positive response of, hey, Expedia is going to bring the technology that powers its own brands to us as partners. We already have a quite big business that's based on a lot of those technologies, but there's a lot of curiosity of, okay, well, what is the roadmap of what you're going to deliver? And I think it changes the conversations with partners quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it was an interesting presentation about, the different ways they can pick and choose and how everyone kind of has access to that.
Exactly.
I think that, would you say that that's something that's kind of been missing in the marketplace that you were trying to?
Well, I think if you think about it, there isn't much of a traveler technology vertical.
Yeah.
And that's the role that we're trying to play is, we are a technology company that's got to develop solutions for our own brands. But if we can build them in a multi-tenant, extensible way so that we can bring them to our partners, I think that's a big white space. And again, I'm fortunate I get to talk to airlines and hotel chains and car rental companies all the time. And what you realize is they can't find a lot of solutions off the shelf, so they're building things themselves. And they say, "Hey, Expedia, if you figured out this technology problem, we would love to have a conversation." Exactly, focus on the things that will differentiate us, and then if you can bring this technology, that'd be great.
Great. Yeah, I wanted to turn to the One Key loyalty program that was also announced, which was kind of unifying this loyalty program among all the different Expedia brands. What are some of the challenges there, especially from a consumer perspective? I might not know Vrbo and Expedia and hotels are all there. And, from a back end perspective, that seems pretty challenging as well.
Yeah, well, I think you hit on two of the big things. So the first thing is just, it's one thing to have the idea and the vision for the One Key program, which would allow travelers to earn and burn across all of our brands, across all of the lines of business. It's another thing to bring it to life. So there's all of the technology. And the good news is, the replatforming work we've been doing, like having one checkout path or maybe all of that are foundations that are going to allow us to make One Key happen. The second, as you mentioned, is, helping travelers understand that we are a house of brands. We are a family of brands. So if you are, spending or earning on Vrbo, you could burn on Expedia. And so as all that functionality comes to be, one of the things we need to do is to make sure that for travelers, they understand that we're a family of brands. But we think it's really powerful. We have 154 million members of our loyalty program. We're adding 2 million every month. And we know that some travelers will be very brand loyal to one hotel chain, but most of them will sort of go to different hotels or different airlines for different occasions. And we think that we can bring a lot of value to travelers and to our partners.
Mm-hmm. And then how does the marketing work? I think they said that, the Verbo ads, for example, were saying, an Expedia group brand or something. How is that marketing going to evolve to kind of showcase the different brands under that umbrella?
What I would say is I don't have anything to announce right now, but you can see the concept of you have to, if you're going to have the One Key loyalty program work, we have to make sure that travelers understand that we are a family. Mm-hmm. So I think you'll see some interesting things come.
Yeah. And then,
nice try.
Yeah, I know. I thought I'd get there. But Peter talks a lot about long-term loyalty and, keeping the customer and developing this relationship. Is this kind of a way to, how are you going to look at long-term loyalty, with these loyalty points, with the One Key?
I think it's all, it's all really part of the great traveler experience. And it's this belief of if you give travelers great experiences, if you give them tools so that whether it's when they're shopping or whether they're in trip, they feel taken care of. I mean, that was the announcement at Explore on trip boards becoming available on brand Expedia, or smart shopping, where it's easier for travelers to understand, what they're buying when they're comparing various hotel rooms. I think it's all part of building long-term loyalty. And of course, that's sort of the holy grail for everyone and for every brand, is to have long-term loyalty. And again, I think that our partners will benefit from that as well, because we'll give them access to these loyal travelers.
Yeah, great. So I want to turn to, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I know is very important at Expedia Group, and we're something we really try to promote at Phocuswright and in our messaging as well. So just curious how your DEI program has evolved and kind of what next steps you're taking. I'm not going to speak for the European market, but, been a challenge in America recently. So just, how does that kind of work from both, your corporate perspective with your employees, and also kind of how you're expanding that message to travelers?
So we, for a number of years, we had a focus on leadership, sort of gender balance in leadership. Mm-hmm. And I think even back in 2014, we had a big goal, which was to increase the number of female senior leaders, I think it was VPs and above, from 18% to 30%. We focused, we blew through those numbers. And then in the last sort of 2-3 years, it's really been about, yes, there's the gender aspect, but there's also underrepresented populations. Yep. There's also, populations with disabilities. There's all of these. And so we've done a lot of work around our inclusion groups, and around that topic internally. We did a self-ID survey to start to understand our employee base more. We've recently published a report where we've been very transparent about sort of where we stand on diversity and inclusion internally and what goals we've set. I think the next step is, okay, well, what about our travelers? What does that mean for our products? Mm-hmm. We recently have made available for travelers when they're writing reviews for them to say, okay, this review is should be specific to this audience or to another audience. Mm-hmm. And that way we can try to connect reviewers with prospective travelers who sort of associate with a certain audience. And I would say over time, you'll see us trying to integrate more and more into our products, as well as what we're doing internally as a company.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of technology, is you can develop these solutions and, make the experience better for everyone, which is kind of...
Exactly, and I think that's, there's so much meaning, I think, to our industry.
Yeah.
We create 1 in 10 jobs. We are about meeting people in the real world and not the virtual world. And when you think about this concept of inclusion, I think that our industry really can have a big impact, and I'm happy that Expedia Group is trying to do just that.
Yeah. And I think people are just glad to get back to traveling, glad to get back to searching and finding the places, and we're certainly glad to be back here in Amsterdam.
Yes.
So I look forward to seeing your center stage session later on, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Jill.